And
just
then
weird to me.
after that, they'll tell you they're vegan.
Yeah, they're like, actually, that's disgusting. I'm like, what, animal style? It's disgusting? Okay. I'm sorry.
I'm
Well,
vegan.
we're live on YouTube, so there's that. But we're gonna start the podcast now.
Okay.
Do you need our cams on or no?
You don't have to, but they'll see you if you like. It'll be shown. Like right now, your little icon, your little circle icon, is showing. But it's up to you. I'm not gonna force anyone to do it.
Oh, by the way, I'm winning 3-0 in the first inning.
That's good.
Wait, are you playing MLB what?
19.
Oh, wow. Really? You scored 3 runs? I can't score 3 runs. I'm actually going to fire up a game, too, just because you guys said that.
All right.
No. Wait a second, Chef. We should play 1-on-1.
All right. Well, you're in the middle of a game, aren't you?
Hang on, I'll friendly quit. This guy sucks.
We're
All
talking
right.
from
No,
anything
hopefully.
from politics to
All right.
One-
One
1v1.
So live here on MLB The Show, we are going to have a 1v1 match between Gary Sheffield Jr. and the one and only Noah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna start recording, and you guys can
All right.
join in.
PlayStation name Chef Doggo 4. So
Chef Doggo for yeah, that's right. You did say that.
just add me on PlayStation.
Is it 2 G's or is it 1?
It's 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're not gonna talk about Noah's gamer tag, PSN.
It's really offensive, but I really don't care.
Yeah, remember he just said it to
All
me.
right.
Oh, that's good.
What's up, guys? It's Matt from MLB Marathon, Season 2, Episode 27 of another podcast, 1 week closer to postseason baseball, and we're joined with guests Gary Sheffield Jr., Jake Slobodnik, and Noah Yeckley. What's going on, guys?
Howdy ho.
What's up?
What's up, guys?
Gary and
Let's do
Noah
this
are
thing.
in a heated MLB The Show battle. It's
No,
beginning.
we're actually not yet. It actually hasn't even started yet, so nice dramatic effect.
Yeah, I mean it's beginning. It's the first pitch is coming. But a
Eventually.
lot has happened in halfway to the point of August being over, which means September baseball begins. We'll start with the standings. Standings are getting closer. In the American League, the Central, the AL Central. A month or two ago, if you asked me, this division was decided. Does that differ for any of you?
Ooh, I would say the Indians. The Indians look pretty scary right now. I know they ran into my buzzsaw New York Yankees, so that was a little bit of a buzzkill for them. But one thing I will say is that the Cleveland Indians, honestly, once they start getting healthy, they're probably the worst team you could face. Like even coming out of a wild card, I think that they can really run down any team in the league. So they're going to be scary, man. Their pitching is out of control.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off that too. Obviously, the Twins were the team to beat in the Central. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, look, it's the Twins. They're good again. They're good again." Well, I hate to break it to you, Minnesota, but you're not winning a division title this year because here comes Cleveland. Yasiel Puig's hitting like 380 since he came over, so watch out.
Well, I don't think any lead is comfortable right now. It's been back and forth. Indian had a 2-game lead, and it was tied. Now the Twins, currently after where we stand today, 2.5-game lead over the Indians. And I don't know. Month after month, we keep saying the Twins are going to fall. They're going to fall off. They're going to slow down. They don't seem to be
what's
doing
your
that.
take?
What?
Wait, what was that?
I said Slebrod, what's your take?
Well, you all knew that I was a big guy on the Twins.
Chef,
in the
I
beginning.
invited you, by the way.
Oh, okay. Well.
But it's good to see that the Indians are coming back. They started off slow, looked kind of anemic, I'd say, at the beginning part of the season. But now that they made all these moves, they're looking stronger than ever, and they're making a good push, trying to return to the playoffs and hopefully make a little bit of a comeback story. So I like it. I like the way it's shaping up in the Central.
I mean, it's definitely interesting. We got the Central to look forward to, and then we'll get to it a little later. But the NL wild card is another exciting thing coming up. But the Astros just broke a 5-game losing streak, but still hold the commanding lead over the Athletics, 7.5-game lead. We know, we don't know, but it's good to say that this division is decided. I think with that rotation in that offense, the Astros are going to take this one.
Well, no doubt. That's been a given since the beginning of the season. The Astros are just a super team right now in the AL and quite honestly in the MLB. They've taken this competition by storm since the I didn't even go back as far as spring training. They look strong over the past few years. They don't show any signs of stopping anytime soon. So, I'm not surprised, but I'm really glad that they're keeping this strong momentum going.
The Athletics, which I'm always a fan of when they get hot, they always seem to do it at the right times, but it seems to be too late by the time they start to heat up. And it seems to be the last few years. Last year they won 97 games and were on fire. This year, I don't know if they'll play at that pace, but they're playing good baseball and they have a very good shot of winning that first wild card spot.
One thing I want to bring up about the AL West is that one team actually shocks me, and that's the Texas Rangers. Because I remember the beginning part of the season how they looked really strong, but now all of a sudden, 4 games under 500, 18.5 out of the division lead, and they're giving up a negative 31 run differential. They don't look like the same team that they were, and they weren't a very strong team coming out of the gates, but they were what, second place in the AL West. They were close for a wild card maybe toward the All-Star break, but now they're just falling apart. I don't understand what happened to them, but I will say I'll miss the Texas Rangers and their stronghold, but I want to know the reason and the root of all evil, I guess.
Right.
Now, I would really like to take this time and, we'll shift gears over to the NL wild card. And I really just want to take this time to let out some frustration, if I may.
Let's hear it.
Okay. Obviously, I'm a Phillies fan, okay? They just had their shot to come back, and they blew it. Bryce Harper hits a walk-off home run, walk-off grand slam, mind you, against the Chicago Cubs in the bottom of the ninth. That was the most incredible moment in Phillies history since 2007. That was 2008 since the World Series. That was incredible. So then they're like, okay, we're feeling strong. Let's go. We'll beat the Padres 8-4 game one. Second game, all right, let's blow the lead in this one. Then the third game, let's not even score anything. So I'm very angry right now. I want you guys' takes on the Phillies right now and where you think they stand and if you think that they are just a total bust of a team.
I mean, honestly, to me, if I'm a Philly fan, I'm pretty demoralized right now.
Yes.
Even though they're not way out of it right now, they still have every opportunity to do their thing. The Philadelphia Phillies, I mean, really, some of the guys that they were supposed to be able to rely on, like Jake Arrieta and obviously Robertson, that's injury, and he wasn't there for most of the season. But the guys who were on the field, Bryce Harper himself, a 250 season with some pop was something that the Phillies could not afford to have with all the buzz around the team. They really needed him to come through a lot bigger than that. And there were plenty of other complementary pieces that just didn't show all season long. Just a lot of their pitching just didn't really show. And their offense, I feel like it was so streaky. Their offense was so streaky that they weren't able to maintain really any type of winning streak. So it's a giant disappointment, really, to watch the Phillies. Just watch how the season's turned out.
And at this point in time, too, as a fan, I truthfully just feel violated.
Explain a little bit on that. Violated.
I feel as though that I was touched inappropriately by my great uncle at a barbecue. That's how I feel right now. I just if I'm being serious right now. All right, we go out, we trade our top prospect, Sixto Sanchez, for Real Muto, which I can't say anything about Real Muto because he has been incredible this year. He's having a career year offensively and defensively. But now we have Bryce Harper, okay? I absolutely love the guy. He's so passionate. The fans love him. He interacts with his fans. He's fantastic. But why is he
No pun intended.
Performing so bad? I don't understand. Is it just because maybe he's taking a season to get reacclimated to a new team? I just don't understand. But I just feel as though that we need to really talk about this because this is an issue.
All right, well, I'm going to give you my take on the Phillies. I think one of the key points of their season that really kind of started this inconsistent trend is the loss of Andrew McCutchen, and I think that's very undervalued. The player he was, the role model, the leadoff guy in that lineup, he kind of balanced that lineup, and he was, we've seen it in Pittsburgh. He was a Yankee. He did the same thing there. And then the Phillies, he fit right in. He fits in everywhere he goes, and with him being out for the year, I think that hurt that lineup tremendously.
Are you kidding me?
Go ahead. What happened? Update.
Justin Verlander just dropped a pop fly off the pitcher's mound. I still got the force out at second, but what the hell? Go ahead.
And another piece.
Steph goes deep.
260.
Robertson losing him, that's tough because their bullpen has been up in the air. But you said it. I don't know exactly how he's doing this year, but how are guys like Hoskins producing? I mean, we can't put this all on Harper because it's the lineup collectively.
No. Hoskins is completely underperforming. He was hot out the gate. He looked really good. He had Harper hitting behind or in front of him. He looked like he was going to have a career year. It just didn't work out that way, and he's hitting like 240, and it's really sad.
Hoskins really doesn't have that much pressure on him either. Like, he honestly has been in a lot of positions to succeed just in this overall season. He's come on with a lot of guys in scoring position, and he's not in that position where he has to worry about defense, where they're having him in the outfield. Like, I actually really expected a lot more from Rhys Hoskins, especially. Like, I thought he should have softened the blow, and Bryce Harper really was the one who took the brunt of like all that force. So he was a huge disappointment this season.
Absolutely. Slebby, can you shed some light on this situation? What's your take on the Phillies? What are they doing? Where are they going?
My bad, I had my mic muted. I do think they've severely underperformed this year. With all the acquisitions, you mentioned it. Although I got to admit, JT Realmuto, you mentioned him. He came around this season, especially starting off slow. So I remember during those early weeks into the season, everyone was questioning whether that trade was a bust or not. But now you really look at him, he's really blossoming well and establishing himself, and it sort of makes it makes that trade for Sixto look really good. But I still think they're underperforming with the amount of talent they've had. And yeah, they have been plagued by the injury bug this season. Yeah, I mean, you can't have a lineup that includes, JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, you name it, and then all the studs in the rotation stuff, and still be 4 games under 500 and pretty much starting to fall out of the playoff race. You just can't do that. That's unacceptable.
In their defense, they are still over 500 and they have a shot.
I mean, let's not. I'm sorry, but we're acting like the Phillies are done. They're 2 games out of the second wild card spot, and they're right there. We have a month and a half to play. This is far from over. And with the addition of Charlie Manuel, I've kind of seen the impact, from the team. They react to him, and I think that they have a lot to work with still. I mean, this season is far from over.
I love Charlie Manuel so much. I have such fond memories of him, but he should seriously be in a home at this point in his life. I mean, every time they interview him, it's hitting season, boys. That's like all he says.
But you know why the Phillies brought him back? You know why the Phillies brought him back?
Since you came here, it's hitting season, boys. Okay, Charlie.
The Phillies brought him back because that was the last time they ever saw really much light in the organization when Manuel was around, and then because veteranism, they want to bring back a former name, that everyone loves in Philly, and that's why Charlie Manuel was the best suitor for that. I'm not trying to put down the Phillies, but that's just what it reeks of.
Right, but we've also, short sample size, but we've also seen some light come up in the offense. If that sticks, we'll see. But like I said, the Mets and the Phillies are 2 games out of the second wild card. The Cubs they're 4-6 in their last 10, so they're not playing great baseball. But they definitely have a chance to turn things around. They've
got a chance, but it's just like they shouldn't even be in this position. I mean,
Absolutely.
we're talking about Andrew McCutchen, I could not agree with you more. Andrew McCutchen was just a disaster. For them to lose him was just horrendous. But the thing is, it's like, listen to like what we're saying really is like you added Bryce Harper to the Philadelphia Phillies, and they got first base, they got outfielders so that Rhys could go into his own position. You shouldn't even have needed another addition, like besides some pitchers.
I was just gonna say
would have brought him past this point. Like we're talking about a team barely over 500. Like that's really not good at all. Not even considering the injuries.
You can't even, and not even the injuries. It's more of like the underperforming part as well, because you saw in the offseason they added David Robertson to the bullpen, and look how he turned out. Yeah, he got plagued with the injury bug, but that was later in the season. In the earlier part, everyone expected him to blossom, and now, the early part of the season came around. He had an ERA over 6.
They wanted no part. He honestly was Edwin Diaz of that, of that team. And it's just not acceptable for them to even be in this position. Is just something that shouldn't be the case. Like injury or not, or there's so many guys that are not performing. We have other teams like the New York Yankees. There's plenty of teams performing with injuries all over the field, and they haven't even been able to stay afloat in a division that's just not. It's just not, like there's no reason that they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be in this position. It's just Obviously, you shouldn't have to add Charlie Manuel to give a spark plug to a team
And
filled with
and to bring
25-year-olds.
bring up your point with the Yankees, you couldn't be more right. I mean, Giovanni Urshela, who the heck is this guy? He
Yeah.
played for Cleveland. He comes up and he starts hitting bombs.
Mm-hmm.
The Phillies, they go at a guy like Corey Dickerson. He's been doing great. But other than him, like, what about the Phillies making additions in-house, promoting people? And nobody that they have promoted has performed. And I just don't understand that.
That's
Maybe
a
it's
good
an
point.
issue with their farm direction or what it is. But
And it
Look
can't
at-
be luck, man. It can't be bad luck.
Look at the Dodgers or the Astros or the Yankees. If someone's not producing or something's wrong, they call someone up and it just seems to fit.
Mm-hmm.
But let me take a second here, Noah. I want to put something on the table for you. Looking at the Phillies rotation, the only one I see having a solid year is Aaron Nola. Everyone else has an ERA over 4, and the pitching, 4.64, 4.57, 4.35, 5.42.
Well,
This is-
see, the thing with the Phillies pitching is they have heavily relied on the spot starter. They'll bring in Zach Eflin to start here and there, and then they'll throw him back in the bullpen. There's no consistency.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're not handling their pitchers well. Like Vince Velasquez, he's been pretty solid when he's been starting, but like they'll move him right over to the bullpen when they get the opportunity. The only one who's a lock is Nola and Arrieta when he was healthy, but Arrieta really didn't perform either. Jason Vargas came over. He's been a pretty solid piece, not too bad. But outside of those two right now, there's really nothing.
That's a very good point because, preparing for a start and preparing in the bullpen are two totally different worlds, and that definitely plays a role in their performance. I wouldn't doubt it. Look at Velasquez. He's got 26 games, and he appeared. 16 of those were starts. That's 10 games he's coming out of the bullpen, and things are totally different. But I'm thinking more of this offseason for the Phillies, and a piece that could, everyone's going to be high on. It's going to be the gold in this market, but that's Garrett Cole. He would fit so nicely in this rotation with Nola. And if Arrieta became, even half of the guy he was in Chicago, that's a huge piece.
No, I'm sorry,
I
but
swear
that
to God,
Arrieta
if the
ship
Phillies
is
get
down.
another former Pirate that's excelling right now, I will eat my own ass. I
What?
swear to God, I've seen that so many times these past few years. Andrew McCutchen, Corey Dickerson now. And now if Garrett Cole goes over, I swear to God, I think I'm going to have a conniption. My mental state won't be able to handle that.
You just need to become a Phillies fan, Jake. It's the same state.
No, because that's bandwagoning. I'd rather stay true to a shitty team rather than bandwagon and cheer for the Phillies.
But is that Noah? You disagree? You don't think you'd be a fit there?
Who, Garrett Cole?
Yeah.
I don't even want to tell you the things that I would do if Garrett Cole became a Philly.
Right.
I would probably get arrested for some of the things that I would do, but other than that, yes, I think
Jesus.
he'd be a fantastic fit. I would love to see him in red pinstripes, and I may even streak naked through my neighborhood if that happens.
And I just hit a triple with Kershaw.
Yeah, you know what?
What's the
You know
score
what,
of the
Chef?
game? Can we get a
4
score
to
update?
1.
It's 4-1. No, but
4-1.
let me say this though about the whole Garrett Cole thing is the additions they don't really matter because the issue really for the Philadelphia Phillies is you got to figure out why it is that you can't pull the best out of certain guys. And if you look at someone like Garrett Cole, who was with the Pittsburgh Pirates, when he's playing there, he was a good pitcher. But when people go to Houston, they become better pitchers. And will they be that same guy when they come to your team? And that's what remains to be seen. And that, honestly, people have to figure out what it is about their organization that's not bringing the best out of these players. And I think the Phillies can't just look at a free agency acquisition and just say, okay, this is the answer for our team. That's something they've got to figure it out in-house.
Right. Well, let's keep it moving. Well, a lot of single season and career accomplishments that were done this week. Zach Greinke got his 200th career win. Done it with the Astros, but obviously his career with the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks. 200 career wins. He's the only active pitcher to do so alongside Verlander and Sabathia. So I think Greinke's got, in my opinion, Hall of Fame written all over his name.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
He's
And then
got to
Al-
be, right? He's 200 wins, doesn't he? That's good now.
Yeah, I
At this point.
just don't really like his attitude.
Oh, his
Or his
attitude's weird.
But
He's
other than
bizarre. He's so bizarre.
Albert Pujols became.
He is very bizarre. And I mean, what is up with that hair? It's like Jeffrey Dahmer-esque.
Albert Pujols became the only foreign
What
player.
it is? Like he's got
Oh.
slick back blonde hair. He might as well have a mullet.
We're still on Granky. And Matt's trying to plow
I'm
through.
trying to move on, and Noah just keeps.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Albert Pujols, he's doing good things. He's the only foreign player to hit over 3,169 hits because he's got 3,170. What was that? Anyway, moving on.
No.
Pete Alonso, he broke the record for most home runs in a rookie season and surpassed Cody Bellinger with 39. Alonso now has 40. I think he's got some room in the tank. He might hit 50 this year.
Oh, he should. I mean, it's going to start cooling down, but I mean, with these baseballs, they could be playing anywhere. These balls are going to go out of the park. Doesn't matter.
And then Chris Sale, that's a story I definitely want to touch on, but he has become the fastest pitcher in MLB history to reach 2,000 strikeouts.
He was also the smartest trade idea to keep instead of Gary Sanchez. But go ahead.
True.
Was currently at 2,007 strikeouts in an incredibly low 1,630 innings pitch. Gary, I have a take for you.
Mm-hmm.
And they think I'm crazy for this, but I was willing to do it. And this is before the season started, right? So I want your opinion, third-party opinion.
Yeah, no
Right?
problem. Let's
Gonna
hear
talk
it.
about that?
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. So, it was a fantasy.
Wait. Before you go on, let me let me just tell Gary how it usually works, okay? Anytime Matt has an opinion, you always say the opposite of what his opinion is.
Okay.
Just to get a reaction out of me. But here's the thing. I put on the table an offer for Jake. I was trading Chris Sale, right? And I was going to give him to Jake straight up for Gary Sanchez.
Wait, Chris Sale for Gary Sanchez?
Right.
Okay.
What is your opinion on that? Is that one-sided? Is that unfair? Or is that, equal? I just want your take.
No, I mean it's really I wouldn't trade Chris Sale for him because Gary Sanchez really, I mean he's a big power bat, but he's someone that you can't rely on really in like any kind of fantasy league because he'll literally go. I mean, I'm a Yankee fan. This guy will he'll literally disappear for months on end, and they're sitting there talking about, okay, he's got to do this, he's got to do that, he's having better at bats. I'm like, listen, are you guys even watching what Gary Sanchez is doing? And Chris Sale, I felt like as a Yankee fan, it's like, of course you don't want Red Sox to be better, but when I was just watching, I'm like, this guy is probably only a matter of time, really, for him to get going. And he started to really heat up, and then he started having, I believe it was more arm problems, which kind of sucks. But I would not trade Chris Sale for Gary Sanchez. I really would not.
So if you were on the opposite end, would you take Chris Sale for Gary Sanchez?
100%. I would do it any day.
Okay. Well, Jake denied it, and it worked out in his favor. I mean, both of them had. I mean, Chris Sale's he's got the worst ERA in his career right now, and he's struggling with some injuries. So it worked out now. But in the beginning of the year, it wasn't a trade that this is horrible.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at
that Matt is a huge Yankee homer, and he would have done anything to get a Yankee. He kept asking me what I would trade for Gary Sanchez.
But it wasn't a trade that didn't make sense. I was willing to overpay, and it wasn't to an extreme.
The better question: wait, why did you want Gary Sanchez?
Yankee homer.
That's the most biased Yankee fan who ever lived.
Because there was a hole. I mean, I'll pull up my team. That was a hole in my. I have Austin Hedges as my starting catcher.
Okay.
That was a hole in the team. That was a need.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a hole in the team, I understand that because he's a boomer bust kind of guy. He's been that way really in New York. And the funny thing is boomer bust type players never survive New York. They're New York fans really, all the blue collar cities, they love all the guys who are consistent. That's why DJ LeMahieu is just a god right now in New York. Everybody knows exactly what he's going to do. He's just going to laser balls all over the field. And if you go a month and a half and everyone's sitting there talking, like what Aaron Judge is doing right now is so freaking miserable to watch. It's honestly, it's got to be the worst thing I've ever seen. We're sitting there talking about whether or not he can't pull the ball because of his oblique and all types of things that New York fans have no time for. It sucks. It really does.
Well, let's continue. Aristides Aquino just continues to hit home runs. 11 homers through his first 17 games. And do we think this player will typically maintain this sort of success? No. But the talent we've seen in him in the few games he's been in the league, this guy's something special.
Oh, that dude's. I'm just waiting on his new card to come out on the shelf. To be honest with you,
coming.
Yeah, where's his card? Are you kidding me? I mean, he's like Babe Ruth. He doesn't even get out. So he's so fun to watch. So I'm hoping he maintains it at least somewhat. We know he's not going to be this. I mean, he's not Mickey Mantle, but from what we're seeing, there's not many players that can do what he's doing.
One player that really stands out to me that should strongly be considered for AL MVP. Obviously, the front runner is Mike Trout, and if you ask me, he should win the award. But to give him some kind of competitive edge, I'm looking over there in Boston at Rafael Devers. 6 for 6 with 4 doubles in a game against the Indians, and he became the first player to drive in 100 runs. And he is just having a monster season at the plate. Like, he's so undervalued in the league. Obviously, he's valued in Boston. Everyone loves him. But we don't really hear about Devers much.
No, Devers is definitely on fire. I mean, I don't like him because he's a Boston Red Sox, but yeah, he's good. What do you think of him, Jake?
I like him. I think he's a good, solid third baseman. I think he's a good power hitter. You know, he's hitting 332 on the year. That's not an easy feat to come by. So, I do agree he's very undervalued, but that's because some of the talent on the team. I think, if he continues this, he'll be one of the top 3 on the team, if not the top. So,
can I ask a question though about Devers' season in Boston? Why do Boston fans talk about Yankee Stadium being a boombox? Have they seen Boston?
Do you guys want to answer that?
Because I'm by a boombox, like a lot of home runs.
Right. Yeah, they're talking about the short porch in right field. I'm like, dude, are you watching any games?
Just turn on
Nesson one time and turn on Nesson. All they do is it's literally like dudes are hitting pop flies off the wall, which I totally respect. The other teams gets to play in it. I'm fine with it. But unless it's Colorado, I can't stand watching games in Coors Field. It's a joke. But I'm sitting there watching dudes hit pop-ups in the left field for hits, and I'm like, my goodness. Like, if Mike Trout played in Fenway Park, oh my God. Like, these guys would be hitting 385. There's not even any room in left field. Like, basically the left fielder doesn't even have to do anything. It's pretty amazing, like, what that park is. But again, like, you can't really discredit people because there's like all these parks, but like when they're looking at DJ LeMahieu, they were saying that this Devers season like counts, but they're like DJ LeMahieu's season doesn't count. I'm like, who gets to determine whether or not these seasons count? I don't get it.
I don't know who gets to determine that. I do think there's. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask, Chef, where like your dad probably has a pretty good perspective on this. Where would he rather hit, Fenway or Yankee Stadium?
Oh, he said Fenway any day of the week. Because, I mean, you have to keep into consideration. My dad played at the old stadium. Old Yankee Stadium was a freaking bomb to get it out in left center field. It was a joke. To hit a home run to old Yankee Stadium, left center field was just an absolute tank. So my dad hated Death Valley in left center. It was horrible. It was like 390 out there. So, but the new Yankee Stadium, I mean, he always said that Fenway was the best park to hit in, no matter what. Because if you're a lefty, it's far out to right field. You get the right fielder playing deep, but you can go the other way, and it's basically just a free double off the wall. It's just the Fenway Park is just built to hit in. It's honestly a really cool park. I'll admit, as a Yankee fan, Fenway Park is cool, but come on, like to be able to hit in that park that's got to be. I mean, it's got to be fun. It has to be.
Oh yeah, I do think that both stadiums offer a nice competitive advantage. Lefties have a better advantage at Yankee Stadium. Righties have a better advantage at Fenway. Mm-hmm. But I think what really sets them apart is that deep center field in Fenway. That kind of gives like a little bit more, I guess, not fairness, but like gives more of a challenge, I'd say. Mm-hmm. Right, Yankee Stadium, it's more like well-rounded, I guess.
Right.
Makes sense.
So
I mean, if you look at it though, both teams, like you said, they use that to their advantage. If you look at Boston's record at home and the Yankees' record at home versus their away records, you could see the difference. And not every team can play or take advantage of their ballpark is what I'm trying to say. And
I believe Colorado didn't play well at home. I don't think they played that well.
Right. So as much as their stadium may be, differential or give them an advantage, the ability to play so well at home, you also have to put into account. Like, they play unbelievable. Look at Boston's record at home last year. And that's one of the main reasons they won the World Series. Was the ability to win at home.
Right, it was automatic.
But let's continue. Some key injuries. Obviously, we're gonna get into one. He's a Philly. But one of them.
Why do we have to?
Yeah, we do. The most unfortunate news for me. I mean, one of the best young talents that come up in the game right now, Fernando Tatis Jr. out for the year. I mean, this guy was on unbelievable tear. Second rookie ever to hit 20 home runs and steal 15 bases in a season. Tatis just has that fire in him. Kind of like he reminds me of like a Yasiel Puig kind of guy. But, you know, he's a young talent.
Oh, get out, ball. Oh, come on.
Wait, it was 2 out. It was 1 out?
I hope you caught it.
Always hosed.
Whoever hit it.
Always hosed and hosed him at the plate.
Jake, how you doing, Jake?
I mean, I'm playing MLB 13 this show on a PS3, so I'm just over here in my little cave.
But yeah, I mean, Fernando Tatis is out for the year. In case anyone got that.
Dude, I'm actually. Can I have a comment about that? That actually kind of sucks, and I'm a huge fantasy guy. If many people don't understand, dude, I got Tatis for fucking Giancarlo Stanton whenever he went on the IL. I completely screwed someone over for that, and now karma's starting to rear its ugly head.
Well, yeah, I mean, Stanton's probably not going to see the light of day for the rest of the year. I could be wrong. He's supposedly coming back, right, Gary? But we'll see how that works out.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
I can't picture it.
Right. And make a point. You said it with Judge and how he's slumping, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Sanchez and how he's a hit or miss, a month or two here, a month or two there. One of the reasons this lineup is different is because they have, you know, they're hitting for average, or hitting consistently. If you put a Sanchez, a Stanton, a Judge, etc., it's home run or strikeout, and that's been like it that way for years. This year,
right?
They kind of got chemistry 1 through 9, and you put a Stanton in there, that could definitely mess things up. I'm kind of hesitant to do that. But let's continue, Jake. This is for you. Jameson Taillon receiving Tommy John surgery, will miss the remainder of the season.
Taillon.
Okay, thanks. I'm glad you're here. How's the game going? And a significant amount of the 2020 season. Any initial thoughts on Taillon's absence?
You know, it's nothing different than what we've seen in the past few years. Honestly, I think Taillon at this point is becoming a bust for the Pirates. And here's what I don't understand, and I could go on a rant for hours about this. These I'm going to call them Yinzers. Yinzers have so much optimism that Taillon's going to come back and absolutely tear up the competition. I don't think so. After 2 Tommy John surgeries, it's very difficult to come back. And yes, I've never been through a Tommy John surgery, but it doesn't take a village idiot to know that's some serious shiznit going on there. And it's hard to rebound from. Taillon has gone through 2. And not to mention, he's barely pitched over the last 4 seasons. And when he hasn't really done, he hasn't reached his full potential. Honestly, Taillon right at this point is washed up. I don't think he's going to be able to continue going on further.
Oh my God, washed up?
Dude, 2 Tommy John surgeries, he's underperformed every year he's played.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right.
How old is he?
I think he's nearing 30. I don't know. I don't know his exact age, but I'm also a very disgruntled Pirates fan. So anything really makes me angry about the team. So.
One thing that I've heard from you and Rum Bunter and just seeing Pirates fans in general is they're very frustrated with the fact that these pitchers aren't producing, and they feel like they have guys in their lower levels that should deserve a shot, but they aren't getting one because they just keep throwing these guys out there.
It's not just pitchers. It's really not. It's everyone in the organization. Let's go over while Noah and Gary play each other.
Yeah.
Well, here's my take on the Pirates. When you have Chris Archer serving up meatballs every game, when you have a little leaguer coming up to you at the Little League Classic saying the only thing he recognizes you by is the guy who gives up home runs, and then you have Trevor Williams who, he's got a 500 record, but he also has a 5.25 ERA. That's terrible. Your bullpen's terrible. And these are all veterans. And then the lineup isn't producing as well. And yet you go out there every day and you play guys like Melky Cabrera, who's had a 280 OPS in just the month of August. And then you play Eric Gonzalez, who shouldn't be on a major league ball field. Then you also play Pablo Reyes, who's established himself that, yeah, he's young, but he sucks. And you have guys like you have guys like Cole Tucker. You have Dario Agrazal, he's seen some major league time, and so is Cole. But they're not getting the major league time they should, and especially since the Pirates are tanking right now, they need that time to develop and get better. And right now, the Pirates are just wasting it.
Is everything all right?
This game is horrible.
Explain.
I just hit a.
Don't even say it.
Say it.
Horrible.
No, it's not even. I just hit a friggin' bleeder over the pitcher. Tony Gwynn just got it. The whole rally started. We're gonna score.
But Jake, I heard
that
your
is the
frustration
first
there.
run Ryan Presley has given up in 35 innings. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
With a team like that and the inability to, or not even the inability, because they have the ability, they're just choosing not to. With choosing not to call guys up that deserve a shot, it's not like they have a depleted farm system. It's not like they need to go out and get some prospects or develop their players differently. What is the next step for them in Pittsburgh?
They need to buy in the offseason. Like there's no doubt about it. They've really done all they can do. They've sold off a lot of their key assets except Felipe Vasquez, which a lot of people, they're kind of happy we didn't get rid of him, but I think that's going to be a case of karma coming at you. But they need to buy in the offseason. So many notable names are going out there, especially in the pitching market, that we need to buy. We can't be this conservative team anymore that hopes on, minor league contracts for returning vets like Liriano and Cabrera or, young prospects. Because like you said, Matt, we develop our prospects very well. I think the Pirates are definitely a system that can build from within. But when they reach the major league level, it's sort of like they're not what they were in the minors. And I think that all comes down to coaching. I think they need to buy in the offseason, do a complete staff overhaul, get rid of Huntington, get rid of Hurdle, get rid of Ray Searage, bring in new faces, and let's see a new Pittsburgh team.
So would you think, it's kind of a mixture of with Hurdle, old school and maybe some analytics, but do you see them getting younger? Do you see, when you say new faces, maybe some younger coaching staff to maybe relate with the players differently?
Sort of like what the Brewers did with Craig Counsell. I do, because here's one good example. Rick Eckstein. I consider him young still. He came in and he's flipped the hitting game around. I've seen significant improvements over the years. Ever since I'm going to say 2015, since that was the last time the Pirates were actually relevant for good reasons. Well, I've seen a big turnaround this year with the addition of Rick Eckstein, and he's young. He can relate to the players. But when you have Clint Hurdle and you have Ray Searage who like to play it old school, it's just not going to work. You're in 2019. You're no longer in 1999 or 2009. No, we got to bring newer faces in who recognize the game for what it is and who actually have a motivation to win.
For sure. Well, one motivation is next year's draft pick. They're gonna have a top 5 draft pick, top 10 draft pick. You could start with that.
And they're gonna piss it away on an outfielder,
as long as they don't trade him away for Chris Archer. And everyone talks about that. I want everyone's opinion for a second. Everyone talks about the trade between the Rays and Archer and how it was so horrible. And I do not disagree with that for a second. But if we look at the Pirates team as a whole and what they're doing over there and what they're not doing, would that deal really make much of a difference? Look, if some of these guys are over in the Pittsburgh system, the way they're choosing not to call up some of these players, those guys may still be in AAA.
I really don't think Austin Meadows would have been in AAA.
I'm just saying, those two guys, how significant they played this year, great.
It's not even those two guys. It's the third. It's the PT
Baz, right?
player. Yeah, Shane Baz, the player to be named later. He's reaching 99 miles an hour, and he's doing exceptionally well in Class A. Yeah, he could have
those 3 players on the team. Do you see a significant roster difference with the Pirates?
I do think we could have put up a little bit more of a fight rather than bending over the chair backwards and letting the MLB have their way with us. But I do think we could have probably had a stronger lineup, maybe a little bit of a better pitching core, especially with Glasnow and how he's evolved. But I honestly think Glasnow came through because of the pitching system over in Tampa Bay. Austin Meadows, I think, would have been a surefire talent for Pittsburgh. So it's one of those hit or miss for Glasnow, but Meadows, I think, would have significantly affected us.
Noah, speaking of injuries, we already had McCutchen, Robertson, I'm not sure if this is much of a loss, but it's definitely a hole in the rotation. Arrieta out for the year for Philly.
Well, yeah, and let me before I get into that, Gary Sheffield Jr. just bent me over the chair backwards and beat me 10-3.
I bet him over the barrel and shuttled the 50 states is basically what happened.
That was horrendous.
Well,
18 hits.
after
Snuck
the
up,
hits to
podcast,
my
snuck up
8.
on him in the shower.
after the podcast, I'm gonna take you up, Gary, and I might have to bend you over backwards.
Oh wow!
Oh,
I
man!
Oh my god! I wish I had beer in my apartment. I need a drink after that.
Anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna have to give you a 10-3 loss.
All right. Anyway, before Matt keeps talking shit, I'm glad Jake Arrieta hit the shelf. I'm very happy to see him not standing on a pitcher's mound for a long time.
No, but seriously, how does it impact the team now?
It doesn't. It really doesn't. And let me tell you why. Arrieta has a very and anybody can disagree with me and argue with me if I'm wrong. Arrieta has a very bad time owning up to his shortcomings. He'll give up 10 earned runs one game and he'll blame it on his defense. That's the type of guy.
He'll say the shift.
Yeah,
was the
remember what
problem.
he did in Chicago, right?
Yeah. Jake Arrieta is always one to blame other people. That's something that that's always been a strong suit of his.
And another one of his issues is, okay, I'm not Jake Arrieta from the Chicago Cubs World Series team anymore. I'm not the guy that's going to go out there and chuck a 1.66 ERA for a season and 32 starts. I'm a guy with low velocity, no movement on my curveball, a sinker that stays up in the zone. I am an idiot. I'm a guy that does not know how to pitch anymore. So I need to start taking advice from my pitching coach and realize, hey, I'm a different pitcher. Let me conform to it and adjust. Like Jay Happ did. Like, all kinds of pitchers owned up to them not being a power pitcher anymore. Arrieta,
I think this could be a good thing, though.
It could be.
Imagine if some other guys fill in and all of a sudden they're like, well, you've got to step up and start to conform to what we're doing. Because obviously what we're doing works. So if the Phillies can show they can bring somebody up or bring somebody else in, maybe say from the offseason, it makes Jake Arrieta do things the way it needs to be done. Because him doing it his way, with his stuff, like you just mentioned, his curveball doesn't move, his sinker stinks. Everything stinks, right? Even with these new baseballs, everything he's doing is doing less good than it's doing a bat. And he needs to adjust. And like someone like Zach Greinke, who turned from a power pitcher into a control guy, Jake Arrieta is doing the exact opposite of what Zach Greinke did. And it's honestly like maybe a good thing that he's not pitching.
And the same thing happened to Roy Halladay, too, because Halladay obviously wasn't the guy he used to be, but Halladay understood that. He realized that. Rest his soul. I love that man. Realized that, and he conformed to being a pitcher that needed to focus more on control rather than movement. And
it's got to just be a pride thing. It's got to just be pride. Like you just it's 97 by guys. It's got to be fun. But come on,
right?
Man.
And Jake Arrieta is like, oh my god, I'm getting old. He's probably in some kind of midlife crisis now. He probably drives a Mazda Miata around his cul-de-sac in Austin, Texas.
He needs his Corvette. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but regardless of that, Arrieta's not who he used to be. He's not a world champ anymore. He's not that guy that would go out there and wear no undershirt under his jersey and look like some big sexy hunk of juice. No, you need to realize that you're throwing 93 now, not 97, and your fastball has no tail.
I have one controversial topic I want to bring up before we kind of go to the hot take. And this involves the umpires, and their impact in the game. Obviously, my opinion, the whole idea with the robot ump, turn that off. That's you don't ever want to take the human element out of the game. Can we all agree on that?
I agree. I do think that there needs to be something more for umpires, just because of the lack of accountability that the umpires have had this year.
That's where I was headed with this. They need to have some kind of incentive given to make them want to get their calls right, to make them want to make their decisions meaningful.
Well, I just think you could do that with turnover for the umpires. There's some guys there's some guys umpiring. We can name them by name. I mean, goodness gracious, Angel Hernandez. Angel Hernandez, you mean to tell me that nobody else can replace him at his job at some point? And what you can see of like all these guys that are tenured for 20, 30 years, that means they're not looking. they're not looking around for new umpires. So if they're not going to do that, these guys have no incentive really to do a good job. They can kind of just do things how they want to do it, like as if the game was revolved around them. And once they start feeling that some sort of urgency, I think we'll start seeing better performances, and we won't need robots.
That's a good point. And I never really thought of it like that. Once you get comfortable, once you know that your job isn't up for grabs, you kind of take a step back. I think that's natural.
I mean, we would.
Right.
Hey,
you're right.
Come on.
What I'm more focused on is not so much the balls or strikes, obviously that's a huge difference. That there needs to be some change to that, but that is the human element. We do want that in our game. Well, I'm talking about accountability and the quick leash to throw someone out of the game. Mm-hmm. When I mention this, I want to be careful with what I say here because it varies from situation to situation. But Gary, I'm sure you've seen the game with the 3 ejections in the Yankee dugout.
I did. Which one?
The second one, not the first one with Gardner. Even
this most recent one, the one in the last few days.
The most recent one, yes.
One with Phil Cuzzy tossed Gardner.
Right. Yeah, where he just ran in the dugout like a buffoon.
So, what is your take on that? Now, let me ask a question. I want to make sure that I get the rule, like I understand the rule. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you're chirping at the umpire, right, from the dugout,
right,
and you're causing a disturbance to the game from the dugout, in communicating with the umpire, you could be tossed. But Brett Gardner was not saying a thing. He was being obnoxious and using his bat to beat the dugout, which I think it's childish. But does he deserve to get tossed out of the game for that?
Well, I mean, like we said, we enjoy the human element. And the one thing that they'll never be able to take away is that a lot of times these umpires, we'll just put it the way it is. They get butthurt, right? They get really upset that they feel like they're being shown up. Maybe it was earlier. Maybe it was, these guys are going to hold on to things for years. I mean, we saw what's his name? The dude who gave up a bomb to Bryce Harper and then he drills him 3 years later in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, what was it? Hunter Strickland? Right. So it's really the same effect with these umpires. If somebody makes a bad call, and for example, that really young guy who got chewed out, just got chewed out by the Yankees. Now, years from now, that guy's still going to remember that. Now, whether or not he's still mad about it remains to be seen. But we can't really expect them to just forget about it because that's just the way humans are. They remember what people say to them. So when they see Brett Gardner even coming near the line or of stepping over it at all, they're just going to be quick reaction and then just snap and throw guys out of the game left and right. So that's, I guess, some of the reason that some people want umpires that are robots because there is no emotion in it. And like once the emotion really starts getting into it, you really can't do a good job. So it becomes no longer professional and you start doing things against the rules like they did with Brett Gardner.
Well, when you put it that way, I mean, I would take a sacrifice to see a call like that happen because the thought of not having human element in the game just bothers me endlessly.
Totally agree.
Can I say something about that whole Gardner thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing I'd like to point out, the elephant in the room, is that we all knew Phil Cuzzy sucks as an umpire. We all know that. He's one of the top 10 worst umpires in the league. Mm-hmm. But you're taught this from Little League. You do not. Okay, no matter how angry you may get, if you can physically show your aggravation in the field and the way Brett Gardner's been doing it, he's been doing it for a few games, right? Mm-hmm. He's been banging on the top of the dugout. Mm-hmm. And that right there not only causes a disruption to the game, but it also shows a lack of character. And I think this is why the Yankees get a bad rep with the umpires is after that whole Boone and the whole savage hitters thing. That, to me, was a whole cop-out. And quite honestly, listen, I'm going to say this right now. Aaron Boone, I hate as a manager. He's terrible. He's a terrible influence. And the reason I say that, the Yankees got one game that they were blown out by the Indians, and immediately Boone was calling for a mercy roll. But yet any other team can go out and get shelled, and yet you don't hear them talking about a mercy roll. One call doesn't go their way, Boone's immediately in the umpire's face saying they're savages at hitters. We get that. You have a lot of high average hitters, and you have a lot of power hitters. But guess what? You're not the only team in the league with a bunch of hitters. But going back to the original topic of discussion, Phil Cuzzy was very quick to toss him, but at the same time, Brett Gardner needs to learn to channel his anger in a different way. And considering the call wasn't even on him and he completely went apeshit in the dugout, that would have called for an ejection in my book because I umpire Little League and stuff, and that's just a simple concept. That thing sort of happens. Yeah, maybe a warning was warranted, but this has been continuing on for how many games? Get him out of there. Set precedents. You got to set precedents that you are the enforcer, and you will not let these people walk all over you.
Let me make a comment too from that. The only thing that I really have to say about it is I want to thank Brett Gardner for all the wonderful memes that were created out of that act.
I know, seriously, right?
That's pretty
the
much.
thing is though about the Yankees and like the way they operate with the umpires. I think that a lot of times like some of the good guys, that the people that are respected within the locker room, a lot of times they're wrong, guys. Like CC Sabathia is a prime example, right? Somebody did something, I think it was last year, and they did something that CC didn't like. Now CC was wrong. He looked too far into the situation and he drilled the guy, okay? And he lost out on $500,000.
Right.
Now, CC Sabathia, some of these guys who are really good in the locker room, like if you speak to a lot of teammates, there's a lot of people who don't like Yasiel Puig, right? Like even within their own locker room, he has trouble sometimes with his teammates. Brett Gardner and CC Sabathia are not some of those guys. Now, becoming one of those really good guys in the locker room, sometimes you're just doing things that are immature and you're doing things that are wrong because your teammates are always going to back it and they feel like they're backed by you. So when Brett Gardner sees something that his teammate really didn't like in a call, he's going to just say, you know what, I'll be the one who's going to be wrong. And I'm going to go out there and make a scene about it. And like you said, like it looked childish and all that. And I totally get the response because you're going to get a human reaction. But Brett Gardner is doing what he's doing because his teammates are going to be fired up about it. And if they win a World Series because they're a more tightly knit group, I mean, they're clearly a more tightly knit group than most other teams in Major League Baseball. They lost, how many players did they lose to injury? And it seems like as soon as someone goes down with injury, the next person's cheering for whoever is playing in left field, center field. It doesn't matter where they're playing. And a lot of that has to do with the personality and sometimes immature personality that they bring. So I just think that's what you're seeing.
And I can actually totally agree with that. When you put it in that perspective, I definitely can see your point where that's coming from. Because, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. There's players stepping up one after another, guys that we've never even heard of. And, if Brett Gardner has to act like a 5-year-old maybe for 5 minutes just to motivate these guys, then fine.
Yeah, because that's part of getting ejected, right? Like we've always said, like, God, this umpire, this manager, I can't stand this manager of my favorite team, right? Whoever that is. If they don't back the players. Like, let's say Bryce Harper strikes out on a pitch that was on the corner, right? Well, Bryce Harper should just go back to the dugout. It was close enough to swing at. But guess what? Whoever the manager is, he can't tell if it's a ball or strike from where he's standing. But he goes out there and chews out the umpire anyways. Why? Is it immature? Of course. It's completely immature. It's ridiculous. Right. But you throw out respect and you just back Bryce Harper for whatever reason that he's mad about. So that's, I think, what Brett Gardner's doing. And he's always the guy who chooses to be that guy. So it becomes so annoying when you're not a part of it. That's the thing. And it is annoying, totally.
And I totally understand that. I understand Brett Gardner, he's going to try to be that leader in the dugout. He's going to try to stand up for his players when something doesn't go right. I'm speaking from the umpire's perspective.
Totally, yeah.
I do think that Brett Gardner, I understand what he's doing, and I do like the principle, but it's the way he handles it. It looks bad to an umpire, and immediately they're quick to toss, especially these old and ornery guys. They want to get young players out because they think they're such hot shit. So they want to get them out. And that's why we see people like Joe West, Angel Hernandez get so sour so quickly. And they want to, they're so quick to toss these guys. And,
it's a no-win. It's a no-win, man.
No, it's not.
No matter, nobody can win. It's like, it's going to be a show. Like are you really going to throw me out today? Like, it's just a guessing game. You really don't know what's going to happen.
I was going to say, I think both sides, the umpire and Brett Gardner in the dugout, both can make a case for themselves. I think the leash might have been too short, but I could see why. Like Jake mentioned, I could see from the umpire's perspective, and I could also see the action that Gardner's doing, to kind of get a flair in his clubhouse, a flair on that bench. And Jake, you mentioned something about Aaron Boone and him as a manager. I think that he's got his ups and downs like every manager does. But one thing for me that I've noticed is his connection and his chemistry with the players is so much different than, say, a Joe Girardi, that you see that on the field. And that goes a long way. Meaning, just him going out there and speaking to the umpires like that to back up his guys, that says a lot. That's respected.
Didn't Joe Girardi do the same thing? Whenever something was wrong, he was always out on the field and in the umpire's face trying to argue the call or at least stick up for his players.
He was. Yeah, I mean, Joe Girardi was in their face, but again, it was like it didn't feel like they wore his personality. Like, for example, Joe Girardi was always an old school guy. He hated analytics, and the Yankees really started moving towards analytics. So once a lot of the young guys, like Aaron Judge, they started saying, well, we want to put the ball in the air, we want to put the ball in the air, and he started to push back on it. Then all of a sudden there was like a rift between Girardi, and that's when they started bringing in Boone. Because Boone is like, okay, I'm new school. He's like the young guy. He goes out there, and they just wear his personality. Like, it seems everybody on the Yankees is like it's almost like the personality of the Yankees right now is like they were a crappy player on some other team, and they were traded here, and you've got a chip on your shoulder. That's every player. And it's like that has to make you play better. And for Brett Gardner to do stuff like the way he's doing it and like the way that the coaching staff is, like they'd argue about everything. It makes it where everybody is like paying attention to detail, even in games that don't matter. So like none of this stuff feels like we're just going through the motion. And like I think that's why they play so great. Is it's not like we're the Yankees, we're just hanging out. Like they're all angry, which is, to me, I'm a Yankee fan. I just love that everyone's pissed off, because there's nothing makes me happier than watching people care more than I do at the house.
Right. Well, look, last year's team, they were a 100-win team, but they just felt so dead, so dull all season long, even after winning 100 games. It doesn't feel like that this year.
No,
now, do
not
they
at
win
all.
100 games? More than likely, but you just get a different vibe coming from the clubhouse.
Yeah, it feels like a run. It actually
Well,
feels like we got
topic.
some momentum, dude.
Let's get off that topic. I'm all for the umpires and keeping them in the game. I just think, bad call or not, there has to be some kind of incentive to make them want to get their calls right. But let's talk some hot takes, some players to watch. You guys got anything in mind?
I'm thinking about one.
I got one.
Let's hear it.
So I know we were talking a little bit earlier. We touched on the Cleveland Indians, right?
Right.
I think the Cleveland Indians are going to beat Houston
Hey guys,
in the
hold on for a
playoffs.
second. I'll be right back.
No problem. And I believe that the Cleveland Indians are going to beat Houston in the playoffs. And I also believe that the Indians are going to go 7 games with the Yankees. I think the Indians are that good. I think that people are underestimating the starting pitching, because I know a lot of people are freaking out about Houston. But the thing is Houston can be matched. Like, in terms of starting pitching, it's hard to score in the playoffs no matter what. And for the Yankees are undermanned in the rotation, but I think that the Indians can match up and they can perform to that level. So I think the Indians are going to be a huge threat, especially with Jose Ramirez just surging. I mean, Jose Ramirez has got to be – him and Devers are just unstoppable right now. So you don't want to see them in a series. And they've got a lot of switch hitting guys going lefty, righty, lefty. It's going to be really hard to match up with them.
I totally agree with you. That was a very good hot take, actually. Matt?
Oh, put me on the spot. I was thinking. Let's see. Take a look at the standings. I'm going to go on with the standings here. You kind of said, Cleveland having a surge in the playoffs. Let's see. Jake, if you have one while I'm looking, feel free to throw yours in there.
Jake said he'll be right back.
I'm back. It was a freaking cookie delivery guy looking for another house in this complex.
Oh, insomnia cookies.
Yeah.
It was Brett Gardner looking to sell him some cookies.
He's Brett Gardner
I
coming.
got mine. And it may not be much of a hot take, but it's something that is against the odds. I don't believe that the Tampa Bay Rays make the postseason.
Okay. Really? What do you have?
Can I piggyback off of you?
Yeah.
Okay, my hot take has something to do with that. I'm going to agree that Tampa doesn't make the playoffs, and it makes me very upset because I'm a fan of Tampa Bay. I don't think Boston's done. I think Boston goes on a hell of a run before the season's over, and they sneak into that second wild card. I just can't count them out yet.
What?
I can't count.
Are you kidding me?
Yet.
Chris Sale is out for the season, and they're going to make it?
They just win 5 straight.
I mean, totally. I totally get that they just won 5 straight, but I mean, what's the situation for Boston right now? Like, is it like are they going to need like a miracle?
They're
I
only
mean,
6 games out.
They're six games
Six?
out.
They're not making it. No way. I'll bet.
Oh, come
I'll
on,
bet
Chef.
anything.
It's
No
a
way.
hot take for a reason.
No way. No.
But yeah,
I actually think
mean,
they'll lose ground.
Look, right now for the Tampa Bay Rays, they had a great start. Is Austin Meadows back? Does anyone know? Or is he still hurt?
Well, I'm not sure.
But he was injured for a while. That kind of put a stool in their lineup. Blake Snell is coming back in the beginning of September, I believe. Depending on how he comes off the IL and how he performs, could definitely, determine their outcome. But the Oakland A's are something about them again this year where they're just going to continue to play at this high rate in August and September. Boston, like you mentioned, Noah, they may not make the playoffs. I think Tampa has a 100% chance over Boston to make that. But I think it's Cleveland and Oakland, and I strongly agree with Oakland and Cleveland going for the maybe. Not,
Oh, so you think Tampa's gonna not Tampa? You think that you think the Twins are gonna hold on to the Central?
I was just about to say, are the Twins gonna hold on? I'm gonna say yes because they've. As much as everyone said the Twins are going to fall off, they're going to slow down, they're not going to be able to play at this rate, they haven't shown any signs of slowing down all season long. And
I would definitely love to have some of what you're smoking.
Even with the Indians surging right now, even with the Indians having one of the best seasons, or best records in the last 2 months, Minnesota's playing right with them. So unless Minnesota does struggle, they're going to maintain that division.
Oh, I think the Indians are going to run them down. I really do.
So
I think they're going to run them down, and I think the reason they're going to run them down is if you look at where the production's coming from in Minnesota, there's a lot of guys overperforming this year. There's a lot of guys playing very well for how good of a player they've been over the course of their career, and there's a lot of pressure on Barrios. He's really got to pitch like an ace. There's no, you can't go out there and give the team 5 innings. They're honestly their bullpen isn't great. And I'm not in love with their starting pitching, but obviously I love their hitting. But as the year goes on, it starts getting colder, and the hitting is naturally going to drop off. You're going to have to start relying on your pitching, and guess who can rely on their pitching? And that's Cleveland. And Cleveland, I think, is going to run them down. I think Cleveland is going to be a freaking nightmare in the playoffs.
Especially when Kluber comes back. I mean. Mm-hmm. He just rehabbed at AAA Columbus the other day, and I guess he had a hell of an outing. So he's getting ready to be slotted right back into that rotation.
The stars are aligning for Cleveland.
Well,
it is going to be scary.
That only strengthens my hot take and makes it a little hotter. I am going to stick with my decision, and I'm going to say that Tampa completely misses the postseason, and that the wild card game is Cleveland and Oakland.
I think it's time for my hot take, and I think sort of gathered from what you guys say. There seems to be a little bit of a discrepancy as to who's going to walk away with the AL Central. And for me, that's going to be determined by a game 163. Minnesota, Cleveland, force a 163.
What a take. Who wins, though?
Who wins?
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota.
Whoa. Yeah.
It'll be by 1 run, but they'll take it.
Yeah, I actually really like that scenario, Jake. That's very creative because
very outside the box.
It's honestly very realistic.
It happened in the NL Central last year, so why not happen in the AL Central this year?
Right. 100%.
I'm with that.
And that makes so much more sense because, like I said, look at how well Cleveland is playing right now, right? But we're not seeing any sign of Minnesota slowing down. Like, they're right at each other's tail, for the last month.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
And for our last segment of the show, I definitely want to get this in only because we're getting close, to the end of the season and, playoff time's coming. Who are our teams and players to watch going forward? Who's going to make the biggest impact going forward on their respective team?
Who wants to take the first grab?
So are you saying like who to look for in terms of positive, or who's just going to have the biggest effect?
Who's going to have the biggest impact, whether it's bad or good? Like,
that's easy. To me, that's easy. That's going to be Giancarlo Stanton. Think about what happens when he comes back, right?
It's going to be miserable. Him in
that
lineup.
What do you do? But what do you do? Because you're not going to pay a guy $32 million a year to not play. And he's obviously a great player. He's someone that any really good team wants. but how do you take out some of the guys that are playing, especially the way that they're playing? They just have a certain style, and that all that just gets flipped on its head when you bring Stanton in. I don't like the fit of him playing at all. I would rather him just sit it out this year and just let this magic roll out.
Well, let's just, he could go play golf with Ellsbury on their time off.
Right.
Look,
yeah, exactly.
If Judge is producing like we expect him to, hitting for average, hitting the ball to all fields, putting Stanton back in the lineup, okay, Judge is starting to hit for average again. He's not going to strike out 3 times a game. It makes Stanton striking out 3 times a game a little less painful. But if Judge is still struggling and Sanchez is inconsistent, and then you're going to put Stanton in the lineup, you might as well just call it a year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I agree with that, for sure.
His style to me just doesn't fit the new style of the Yankees, because they've totally changed. Offensively, I know people always talked about them being a great offensive team. I didn't like what they were doing the last few years. It was always boom or bust. Now it's different.
If you're Cashman, you got to shop Stanton in the offseason, right?
No one's taking that contract, especially with these injuries.
But I feel like the Yankees can afford to eat some of that contract, I feel like they can. They can pay. The D-backs did it with Greinke. I feel like the Yankees can absorb at least some of it.
I definitely think you got to shop him somewhere. But going off of that, Jake, who's your team and player to watch for forward?
Oh man. All right. Sorry, I was like zoning out. You know what? To hell with it. Do something else. I don't know yet.
Okay. Matt?
All right. I'm on the verge of saying, and it's hold your horses. It's not a Yankee.
Holy God, there is.
It's not.
It's another team.
It's no. It's I can't. I'm for the sake of their health, their good mental health. I'm not choosing a Yankee this episode.
For the love of God, I love you.
And that is Matt Chapman over there in Oakland, riding this team into that second wild card, like I mentioned, and beating Cleveland in the wild card game.
Wow. So he's got the exact opposite of what you got. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
For sure.
Look. Okay, even if they don't beat Cleveland in the wild card game, Matt Chapman is going to get his team there, and he's going to help his team significantly in the postseason run. The wild card is considered the postseason.
Obviously, it's going to help.
100% impact. Look, it's either you get that take, or I'm giving you a Yankee and I'm saying DJ LeMahieu. It's
all right. Goodbye.
I'll take that.
All right.
Jake, do you want to go or you want me to go?
Sure, I'll go. In order to solidify this NL Central lead, I'm going to say that the St. Louis Cardinals are the team to watch. And at the same time, I think Colton Wong, and I think he's a very underrated player. I think he's going to be a big top player for him to watch out for. He's very low in the lineup. Very good contact guy. He's hitting 277, which isn't bad. And he can hit in the clutch. He can really deliver when he can. So Colton Wong, I think he's going to be one of those unsung heroes for the Cardinals in their playoff push.
You're saying this like you have a time machine. I swear, it feels like he knows.
I honestly do.
So we have a comment in the chat, and I've never heard of this, but they're asking if MLB Marathon was once MLB Talk 101. That was not us.
No, we were not.
I've never heard of them. Have any of you?
Who is this person, and where can I slap them in the face?
What is MLB Talk?
Well, it's obviously talk about the MLB, man. Come on,
101.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is not us, to answer your question.
All right, can I do my hot take?
Let's go. Go
or
ahead.
My player to watch or whatever. Team to watch: New York Mets. It breaks my heart to say this. I think the Mets are going to sneak right into that postseason. They're going to be like, all right, Chicago, bye-bye. You had your chance. It's my chance now. And my player to watch is Joe Panic.
That's...
Oh, what a cool story that would be. If he ends up being good down the stretch, are you kidding me? That'd be sick.
Well, I don't think it's definitely not time to panic in New York because Joe Panic is here. And
Well, I just want to see
I'm sorry, that was really corny.
I just want to see Joe Madden not make the play. I'm sick of Joe Madden.
I
hate
his glasses.
I just don't think he's that good. I mean, I really don't. He almost lost them the World Series.
The weird role-playing costumes he makes his players wear. I don't know if he makes the Cubs do that, but he's make them do that in Tampa Bay. I wonder what he wears with his wife.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I still see Milwaukee winning the NL Central and making the playoffs.
Winning the NL Central?
Oh yeah, they are not too far behind. They're not far behind.
You said the Brewers?
The Brewers.
Okay.
They've been right there all year long.
Before I start,
it's a toss up. I don't know.
before I start hemorrhaging all over my basement floor,
Oh my god. Explain to me what your issue is with the Brewers.
I don't know.
Their
I
pitching is horrific. I understand that.
I don't like Craig. I don't like Craig Counsell's batting stance from whenever he used to play. So I don't like him as a manager.
That's fair. I mean, at least you have a point.
I just don't like the Brewers because I almost got into a verbal fight with one of their coaches when I was at a Pirate game after Ryan Braun nailed me with a damn home run ball.
Wow.
Pissed me
Wait.
off.
Wait, can you say that story real quick? Never heard this.
Yeah, I was at Chris Archer bobblehead, so that's already on it. That's already a down. But it was Chris Archer bobblehead day at the Pirates game. It was against the Brewers, and I was walking to my seat, and then all of a sudden I hear the crack of a bat. Hear heads up, and all of a sudden Ryan Braun's batting practice home run hit me right in the freaking waist. And then I yelled at one of the coaches because he wasn't giving any of the balls to the little kids. I'm like, you got to show them some love. And then he I don't know. He made fun of me and he made me sad.
Oh.
Wow.
Yep.
Well,
I mean, you could have got hit with a trash can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a batting practice line job. That was freaking what a waste of pain.
What a waste
Wait,
of
Matt.
PEDs by Braun.
Yeah.
how many viewers do we have right now?
2, and someone named Jake Slobodnik posted an eggplant in the chat.
Oh. Okay, so really, we only have one viewer outside of us.
Yeah,
Uh,
we're going strong.
We're killing
are.
it, boys. We're
We
killing
sure
it.
are.
But you
Started
know
from the
what?
bottom, now we're here.
I literally not even had this up on the screen, and if I look at these numbers, we're gonna be discouraged by it. We just gotta do it consistently.
Okay. Anyways, I think that about wraps it up for us at MLB Marathon and
MLB talk.
Mr. Gary Sheffield Jr., who are a wonderful guest as always.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Congratulations on your win against Noah in MLB The Show.
That was easy work, man.
Whenever you have a chance, I'm willing to again give you a strong loss.
Chef Dog, go forward. Don't just add me and we'll
We're
play
already
tonight.
friends, so
Oh, perfect.
we'll get right to it after the show.
All right, cool, man.
But Jake, Noah, thanks for coming. Gary, again, we appreciate your time.
Thank you, man. What a game of the